I'm just gonna speak loudly since we don't. Can you guys hear me okay without the microphone? I need to use the mic. All right. So guys, first I want to say thank you for everybody coming out to our next installment. Unfortunately, I accidentally scheduled this on top of training that Ocala had going on, a training that the villages had going on, and some other stuff. So that was my bad. So that's why our turnout isn't as big as it has been. But I appreciate you guys coming out. Pastor Joe, I'd like for you to come up and say a blessing for us, if you don't mind.
Hey, good morning, all. Anytime we get a chance to get together, it's a good day, just to encourage, motivate, and learn some new things. So appreciate you being here. Let me just ask a blessing on our time. Father, we're grateful to gather. Thank you. I thank you every day for the men and women that serve us. And I just pray today would be a day that we can kind of pour back into each other, that we can be motivated and challenged. You've given us an incredible task, and we need great wisdom and skill to do that. We thank you for your insight and wisdom. I pray that that would be available to us today. I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
All right, guys. So real quick, before we get started, I wanted to say thank you to a couple people that have kept this going. Obviously, Pastor Joe and the Church of the Springs here has been phenomenal with us, providing us with this facility here that we can do our training at. Brent Murray has been our IT guy here in the background making stuff happen, and I really appreciate him. And obviously my crew at the Firehouse that puts up with me going through, setting up all these things and putting them through all this stuff. So, I can't give enough thanks to those guys. So, having said that, I want to introduce our first speaker, Dan Pope. Just real quick, bio, he was a U.S. Army Ranger. He's got 21 years with Ocala Fire Rescue. He is a father, phenomenal father, phenomenal grandfather, and an amazing friend. So anyways, I want to thank him for coming up here, guys. Let's give him a round of applause.
Good morning.
To hold this, drop it in your pocket or something.
All right. Fake pocket. So when Lieutenant Moody asked me if I wanted to speak today, I was like, you want me to do what? He's like, I want you to come to our leadership training. I'm like, okay. I was like, you realize I'm just a driver at the Firehouse. And he's like, well, you can lead from that seat. And I was like, well, okay, you're right. He's like, well, what do you want me to talk about, Tim? He's like, anything you want. And for those of you who know me, that's not a great directive. I was like, anything I want? And he's like, yep. And I looked at him and I was like, you asked for this. So I may hurt some feelings today. I'm pretty much known for keeping it real. If you don't want to know my opinion, you probably shouldn't ask me, and you're probably going to find out anyways, because that's just kind of how I roll. My name's Dan Pope. Like he said, I've been with Ocala Fire Rescue for 21 years. Before that, I spent 8 years in the U.S. military. A good portion of that time was in the special operations community. Some of the other time was spent in the conventional army. I own a small business in the villages. And I tell you all of that not to try to impress you, because I'm not impressive at all. I try to impress upon you. I've seen the entire myriad of leadership styles, from very, very good to the complete other side of the spectrum, very, very bad. Am I a good leader? I don't know. I try to be. It's something I work on every single day. But I know what a good leader is, and I know what a bad leader is. And I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about that. What I want to talk to you today, I actually stole from Tim Moody, because he's a good friend of mine. We were sitting on a burn at the Florida State Fire College, because we both were instructors out there. And we just got to talking in between passes like firemen do. And he's like, yeah, we have 5 basic rules at my firehouse for success. And I was like, all right, well, let me hear them. And he laid them on me, and I was like, man, that's pretty genius. So I'm going to give you 6 basic rules. 5 stolen from Lieutenant Moody, 1 that I made up. Because everything that I repeat that's good is from somebody else. I'm not very original, but I am very coachable, and I do pride myself on being trainable and trying to pass stuff on and pay it forward. So rule number 1 that Lieutenant Moody taught me, always look cool. I think we'll agree that'll take you a long way. There's people that have made entire careers out of just looking cool. There's people that are famous just for being famous. So what do I mean by looking cool? There's looking cool and acting cool, right? Looking cool is the obvious stuff. pride in this job, pride in our uniforms, pride in appearance, taking care of equipment. One of the things, this is my first statement, and I'm going to make some enemies. One of the absolute things I hate about our department's uniform is our guys are allowed to wear shorts. I think it looks like garbage. If it was up to me, we wouldn't do it. I don't like when I see a cop wearing shorts. I don't even like the mailman wearing shorts. It just freaks me out because they wear those weird socks. I don't like it. So the one thing you're going to see someday, if you ever read Dan Pope was arrested, and you see, look at the charges, it's probably for, disorderly conduct or something foolish down here. If you see the additional charge of was like resisting arrest, it's because that cop had shorts on. I'm not getting arrested by somebody in shorts. It's not going to happen. You go put some long pants on, come talk to me, I'll go peacefully, not in shorts. It just looks unprofessional to me. I can't stand when guys show up and they look like they slept in their uniform in their car. People look at us every single day that you drive around this town. How many kids do you wave to? How many kids do you stop and talk to in the convenience store, in the grocery store? How many people just wave? Generalized, just people wave to us, right? People love the fire department. So the other day, one of our rookies asked me, "Are we washing the truck today?" "Yes." "It's not dirty." "Yeah, I know. We're going to wash it." He's like, "But it's not dirty." I was like, lick the truck. And he's like, "What?" I was like, "Lick it." He's like, "I'm not licking the truck." "Why not?" It's dirty. That's why. It's nasty. And when we pay attention to detail, when we look at the truck and we wash every square inch of that truck, guess what? We've looked at every square inch of that truck. We've washed out the compartments. We know where our equipment is. It's just another way to review and to pay attention to detail and do our job. When I was in the Ranger Regiment, or when I was going through RIP, one of the favorite ways that the Ranger instructors love to torture guys in RIP is to make you write the Ranger Creed. They'll say, have 200 copies. This is a six stanza. It's RANGER, 6 paragraphs that you have to memorize, not stutter step. They'll have you write it maybe 200 times at night. And it's just an exercise to, A, teach you the Ranger Creed, B, to keep you up all night, and C, just to be RIs. That's just what they do. It's their thing. So you'll write this thing, you write it, you recite it every single day. So back in 1974, when Command Sergeant Major Gentry wrote the Ranger Creed, he had 6 paragraphs to explain what he felt was important. One of those paragraphs, number 4 of the Ranger Creed, "Gallantly will I show the world that I'm a specially selected and well-trained soldier. My courtesy to superior officers, neatness of dress, and care of equipment shall set the example for others to follow." He felt that that was so important that it's one of the 6 stanzas that he told some of our spec ops soldiers that this is that important. Discipline starts with the grooming standard. I hate to say it. I was that guy. When I was in the military and we were in jungle warfare school, I did not understand why I needed to shave when I had camo paint on my face and I was covered in mud. I thought it was the dumbest thing I've ever heard. When you read stories about soldiers abroad, when you read about the Russian invasion of Afghanistan, and you talk to you read some of the after-action reviews from some of those generals, they'll tell you this started going bad the minute that we relaxed grooming standards and the minute that we relaxed discipline on our guys and started letting them do their own thing. So look cool, have pride in what we do, act cool, just be nice. How many of you guys have seen, we have some definite alpha personalities in this audience, agreed? Fire service, overall. That's who we are. I consider myself an incredibly alpha, competitive person. You guys know everything in the firehouse turns into a competition. If it's drinking syrup to whatever, everything turns into a competition. How many times have you seen that guy that's nice on a call, and it can go 2 ways. We're standing in front of that patient that's agitated, that's having some kind of delusion, that's just having a bad day. You've got the paramedic or the firefighter that really knows how to speak to people and be empathetic and just be nice. That call goes over, hey man, come on, look, we just want to help you out. And then you've got the tough guy. I'm going to show you, I don't want to be here at the Salvation Army at 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't think you're worth it. That's the same exact call that goes two different ways. How many times have you guys worked with police officers and you see that same personality in police officers? You've got the one that's very kind and can de-escalate, and you've got the one that's, I'm going to show you, you're going to bend to my will. Which one of those calls goes better? What's a better example for the public? We look better. We look cool when we're cool with people. So I get aggravated at 3. When I was on Rescue 1 and I was downtown, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, same frequent flyers. Yeah, man, I'm aggravated, but they're not going to know I'm aggravated most of the time. So Chris is Red Rescue with me. So I'm kind of solar powered. I might get a little cranky after dark, but I try to be cool. So just be nice to people, look cool, be cool, do what's right because it's right. Not because you want an award, not because somebody's watching. Integrity is just doing the right thing when nobody's watching. Agreed? And we should do it just because we know people are watching. We know we set an example. We know that we're held to a higher standard. That's just the way it is. That's who we are. We're firefighters. That's the way it goes. You don't ever see roofing contractor arrested for DUI or carpet installer arrested on domestic violence. You see firefighter this big when something happens, even if they're not guilty, even if they just got charged with something, that's the first thing they say. So we just need to be cool, act cool. That's rule number 1. Always look cool. Just have pride. People look at us. So far? All right. Second rule I got from Lieutenant Moody. This is one I struggle with. Know where you're going, know what to do when you get there. So that seems pretty simple. We have computers in the truck, usually maps. We should know our territory. We should be good at our job. Absolutely right. I'm the world's worst at directions. If you talk to Captain Anderson at Ocala Fire, if that guy's wanted to choke me more times, they look at me, you know where we're going? Nope. I'll find it real quick and figure it out. So that's something I've definitely had to work on. The second part of that, know what you're doing when you get there, I feel like I'm pretty solid at. Can we all get better at that? Absolutely. We have to get out of the habit of, like in Ocala, if you're at a downtown station, you're going to train. That's where they keep our rock stars. They keep our rich elites. They keep just these really squared away, great young captains that are motivated, that want to do things. And then sometimes they ship some of the older guys out to some of the substations. And those guys have a tendency to sit in what we like to call the driver charger. Because normally a driver, you get, an hour, 2 hours worth of work. Got to go slip them right back in the driver charger, maybe give them some ice cream, get them wound back up. So we need to train our crews. We need to train. But more importantly, when I say know where you're going, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go with this career? What do you want to be? There's guys at our department that are lifelong tailboards, and they're really, really good at their jobs. Like Tim Smith, perfect example. That guy's a tailboard. That guy's been a tailboard for 23, 24 years. When Tim Smith gets off the truck and you say, go put that fire out, that fire's going out. He's very good at his craft, and that's where he wants to go. But as we get our young people in, and we're starting to develop our crews, we need to ask them, hey, where do you want to go? I didn't have that. When I came in, it was all, I had the advantage of being with like a lot of old, salty, it was like the Vietnam era guys, and I'm really blessed that I had that. Those guys fought a lot of fire. They put up with no nonsense. They brought me up right. What they weren't real good at doing was kind of developing, hey, Pope, where do you want to go? Where do you want to end up at? That's one of the things I really admire about our organization now. Chief Alexander, when he was a battalion chief, when we got new people, he'd bring them and their captains in. He'd like, where do you guys want to go? Well, I want to be a captain here someday, Chief. Okay, perfect. This is what you have to do. This is where let's set some short-term, medium, long-term goals. Actually, let's go ahead and log on this computer and get you signed up for these classes right now. I don't have the money. That's okay. I'll pay for it. You can pay me back. Let's go ahead and let's motivate these people to be the best that they can be. Let's help them develop a plan, because I'm going to go on my millennial rant now. So if you asked me 6 months ago about millennials, I would have completely lost my mind. I'd probably flip that table over. I don't understand millennials. I'm not from that generation. I've got a daughter that's from that generation. So I've watched it develop to the horror of my eyes. I've seen guys that have gone from wearing sweatpants that look like they stole their girlfriend's sweatpants, and man buns, and flat hats, and skinny jeans. I've witnessed this. I've seen it. I don't understand it. So I used to be really down on millennials, and then I actually saw something the other day I'm a new Facebook guy, so I'm that dude that's always on there now. So I saw this guy, and he kind of explained something about millennials that I had never thought about. We're getting this whole generation of kids that, we're competitive. We know that I'm going to talk trash to you. If you tell me, hey, this is the task conditions and standards, I don't want to know what the minimum standards are. I want to know what's the fastest time this has ever been done. What's the most reps that have ever been done? Because I want to try to beat it. This new generation's not like that. Hey, what's the minimum? If there wasn't a minimum, if the minimum wasn't good enough, there wouldn't be a minimum, right? They've always been told they're a winner. They've always been told they're special. My daughter knew, you bring home an 8th place ribbon, that thing's going in the trash. We're not proudly displaying mediocrity in the Pope home. That's not what we do. I'm proud of you. I want you to be an amazing sport. I want you to be gracious in victory. But we're not going to celebrate 8th place. I remember field day as a kid in elementary school not getting a ribbon. And I remember it sucked. And I also remember knowing field day was coming next year and practicing some of those events so I could get a ribbon that year. So we've got this whole generation that's been told you're so special, mommy loves you, or daddy loves you, or whatever. I'm going to stop. They've been told that they're special, they're a winner no matter what. So they come to us, or they get out in the regular job market, and they realize that don't cut it in the real world. You're not special. You're not automatically a winner. This takes hard work. This takes dedication. And we're not going to give you anything. You've got to earn it. And they're blown away. They have no idea. They have no idea how to plan to get there because they've really never had to work for that before. So we're going to have to take time. A lot of these guys are from single-parent homes. A lot of these guys have never had a positive male role model in their life, and they're coming to work around a bunch of apex predators. That's right? Where everything's a competition, and if you suck, we're going to tell you about it. That was terrible. They've never heard that before in their life. So guess whose job it is to show them that's not the way the world works and to develop these guys? Sorry, guys, it's ours. We got to own it. Much as I don't understand all the other foolishness and dancing while you're walking beside a car on TikTok and all the other weird stuff millennials do, I understand that I'm going to have to teach them to be a winner. So we need to, where are you going? This is how we're going to get there. Let's develop some of these guys instead of just putting them on the shelf because that's who's coming. And we have to leave this organization. We're already resting on the shoulders of giants. We're already carrying on traditions that came hundreds of years before us. We've got to develop the next generation because we want them to represent it as well or better than we did. Agreed? All right. Third one, safety third. So every day I leave for work, my girlfriend tells me, hey, be safe today. I'm like, okay, you too. You be safe too on duty. Okay. Talk to my parents, talk to my brother, sister, whatever. Hey, be safe, be safe. Okay, I got it. I will. I'll be safe. I completely agree that we need to be safe in the fire service. 100%. Is there ever reason to get somebody catastrophically hurt in training? Absolutely not. We should try to mitigate every risk that there is. We should try to take care of every scenario we should try to think of and mitigate that risk. But in the really real world, this is a hazardous job. You knew what you were signing up for. We've all heard the adage, risk a lot to save a lot, risk nothing to save nothing. I completely agree with that. But there's this just complete risk-adverse movement in the fire service that I don't agree with. I don't know, have any of you guys ever seen the movie Burn about the Detroit Fire Department? Okay, it's a great movie. It kind of shows, they get this new commissioner that comes out from LA, I think it is, and he comes there, and they had, I can't remember, like tens of thousands of vacant structures after that economy collapsed and the automotive industry shut down. So this new chief comes in, and these guys got no money. They took their pension. They're literally holding their equipment together with duct tape. But these guys have pride in their job. These guys are doing it too. They're going out and fighting 5, 6, 8, 10 working fires. So this new commissioner comes in and he's like, hey guys, we're not making interior attacks on these vacant structures anymore. It's just too risky. We're getting too many guys hurt. So guess what those guys' response was? That guy's not from here. That guy doesn't understand. These are our neighborhoods. Like, we grew up here. We live here. We own homes in these neighborhoods. And guess what? All these vacant structures, they're not vacant structures. There's people that are squatting in there. So he came from somewhere else and maybe didn't understand the complete picture. And these guys bucked up and said, no, we're not doing that. I completely agree. If something's fully involved, roof's falling in, and there's no chance of survivability, and there's nothing we can do, we shouldn't be pushing in there just to say I made an interior push. But you can guarantee you, I'm going to lay down and burn my ears off if I think there's any chance. You tell me there's a couple kids in a fire, and I know every other single person in this room is that same way. I will burn my ears off trying to find that baby. That's what we do. Is it safe? No. So the safety officer guy that's walking around, hey, where's your glove? I get it. We need all that. Sometimes we're firefighters, we're our own worst enemy. But we have got to fight the complete risk-adverse movement that's going in the fire department. If you want a safe job, go, I don't know. I don't even know what a safe job is anymore. Can't even work at SeaWorld. So just let that swing. That was a whale joke. Remember the whale killed the lady? All right, never mind. It's not funny. I'm laughing to keep from crying. So, all right. So that's number 3, safety. Third. All right. Number 4, T-SAFE. It's an acronym. We're at church, so we're going to substitute the second word. This stuff ain't for everyone. It's not. Sorry. I didn't get recruited into the fire department. I came home from the military on block leave. My cousin was dating a firefighter. My dad and my grandfather were both firefighters. My granddad actually started County Station 1 when it was Anthony Volunteer Fire Department. Drove by a wreck, nobody came, said this is horrible, bought an engine, put a pole barn up on 40 acres that we had, and started that volunteer fire company. Never even crossed my mind because they were volunteer firemen. I was like, I never even knew you could do that for a job. My cousin was dating this guy, Shaun Kelly. And I was like, awesome. I was like I went and visited him at work. He's in workout shorts, sitting in the driver charger, weights laying around everywhere, a bunch of cool guys. I was like, yeah, I'm in. No one recruited me. We are recruiting people now, and I agree with some of the recruitment that we're doing. Our fire department should mimic the community that we live in. I'm not the person that'll sit here and tell you diversity makes us stronger. Diversity doesn't make us stronger. Diversity makes us diverse. But if I can understand your diversity and our differences, and we can come to an agreement, even if we agree to disagree, that is great. Because I can tell you, Dan Pope, that's 46 years old, standing here today, is not the same Dan Pope that was carrying a machine gun when he was 19. I completely look at the world in a different way, and that's through my life experiences. That's through some diversity, talking to people. I don't agree with everyone I work with at work. I get in knockdown, drag-out fights, but they're still my brother and my sister. I still love them. We just agree to disagree. So as we are recruiting and we're trying to get a bigger cross-section of people in the fire service, we have to understand this ain't for everyone. Just because you fit a certain dynamic, that we need more females, we need more paramedics, we need insert whatever we need right here. Guys, some people just ain't gonna cut it. They just can't do this job, and that's just the way it is. And it goes back to the millennial, well, they try really hard. No, try really hard, don't cut it. That don't work for me. So here's my thing. If somebody's failing, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this in a second. If somebody's failing and you're allowing them to fail and you're not developing them, whose fault is that? That's your fault. You got to own it. And if you've taken time and you've taken resources and you've done everything you can, if you've tried to develop this person every way you can, and they're still failing, they got to go. You don't just ship them out to somebody else to make them their problem. If you don't want to ride with them, why would you burden some other crew with them? I don't know how we get rid of them, but I know they got to go. Because if I've taken my personal time, my personal resources, my energy, what little bit of knowledge that's in this head, and I've tried to share it with you, and you're not interested in becoming a good fireman, you got to go. Sorry, that's just the way it works. So this stuff ain't for everybody. So if you're selfish, if you're lazy, if you're here because we got an awesome schedule, my girlfriend breaks my chops all the time. She's like, oh, you're going to do one of your 8 days of work this month, huh? It is a great schedule. I'm here because I want to be a fireman. I'm here because I'm a servant. I've been a servant my entire life. When I was a kid, I was a servant. I had 4 younger brothers and sisters. I was the oldest. I went into the military, served this country. I remember one time somebody at church, when I was home, I went to church with my dad, and somebody's like, oh man, that's awesome. What an awesome servant you are. And I got back in the truck with my dad. I was like, did you hear what they just called me? I was mad. If that guy wasn't over 65, I'd have probably punched him, but it's a felony. I was angry. I was like, that guy called me a servant. And he's like, yeah, isn't that awesome, son? I'm like, no, that's not awesome. That guy just put me down. He called me a servant. He's like, son, what greater compliment could you be given than to be called a servant? You serve people. You do good things. So ever since that day, because my dad is I could have figured all this leadership stuff out at like 12 if I'd have just listened to my parents. Because my dad is an amazing human being, very smart, believes in extreme ownership. Just if you messed up, own it. Could have figured this out at 12, resisted it. They taught it to me pretty quick in the military to own stuff. So if you're here for the wrong reasons, you don't belong here. We do need to recruit people. We need good people, but they need to be people that are going to contribute to this job, not just because they fill something that we think they need. So we need people with integrity. I see like this push, like, oh, well, we could squash this guy's felony, or we could do that. No. I don't want, if you're a felon, guess who's not coming over for Thanksgiving at the Pope House? Probably you. I don't want to be around you. I understand you made mistakes. I get that. But what other job, we do this every single day, what other job can you pull up, back a van with no windows up to somebody's front door, go grab their family member that's unconscious, can't take care of themselves, doesn't know what you're going to do, throw them in a van with no windows, butt naked, leave, and they never even think anything about it? That's called kidnapping usually. When we do it, it's called patient care. We do it and people don't worry about it because we have integrity, because we screen people and we make sure they're doing the right thing all the time. And that's who we need in the fire service, not just people that fill a peg hole, if that makes sense. All right, number 5, this is the one that I added. Own it. Own it. What are you talking about? When you mess up, when you make mistakes, when your crew screws up, guess whose fault that is? It's yours. Own it. I screw stuff up all the time. I've been doing it a long time. When we went on a training deployment to Scotland and England, we were on this plane for like 20-something hours. It was miserable. We in-flight rigged. We jumped out. We got off. So we're sitting there. We're in like a formation on the road, and these little British trucks start coming down these winding roads. Like, move off the road. I'm exhausted. So I was a saw gunner, M249. I picked it up by the charging handle, went like this. Right when I did that, it went to move. It was heavy, and there's a big embankment right here. The mirror on the truck hit my rucksack. Spun around. I hear crunch. I was like, oh, God, please let that be my leg. Look back, it wasn't my leg. My M24, my machine gun that sits like this, was sitting like the stock was completely broken, half laying flat. Looked up, immediately my squad leader's right there, catch a beating all the way down the hill. Had to carry that gun for 3 days till we got somewhere that they could replace it and fix it. So guess who every single person in the regiment walked up to? Oh, you're the idiot. Yep, I'm going to own it. When I ripped the door off of brand new engine one, hadn't had it a month. And I didn't just rip the door off, guys. I messed up the track, the garage door track, ripped the Plymouth vent out, and scratched the paint below that. I wasn't the only person involved in that, but I owned it. That's me. I'm driving the truck that day. That's my fault. Yep, whatever you need me to do, Chief, that's on me. Own it. Extreme. I'll tell you a great book. I'm not the biggest fan of Navy SEALs. Respect what they do, but I'm pretty sure that their mission in life is to plan bad missions that Rangers have to go in as a QRF and rescue them for. That's just how I feel. With this exception, this guy Jocko Willink, I don't know if any of you guys have read his book, Extreme Ownership. It's a great book, and it talks about owning it. He's got an amazing podcast. He's not that typical me, me. He just talks about, it's a lot of history. It's just a really good podcast, and it's a very, very good book. So any of you guys that are in leadership positions, interested in becoming a leader, I would recommend that book, Extreme Ownership. It's phenomenal. So, and it talks about, there's only two kinds of leaders, effective, ineffective. There's a lot of different ways to do the job, but that's how we base this. You're an effective leader or you're an ineffective leader. What is it? And guess what? Guess how we judge that? On performance. That worked, that ain't working. That's it, guys. So, again, you don't have anyone else to blame when you're in the leadership role. You have to acknowledge your mistakes. You have to own them. Oh, man, look, they gave me this mutt crew. No, they didn't give you a mutt crew. They gave you a crew. If your crew is not performing up to where you want them to be, guess whose fault that is? That's your fault. Now, I'm not saying we can get out there and bully people around, because we can't. We're firefighters. That don't work. That style of leadership of just like, you're going to do what I say because I say to do it, that works for about the next 5 minutes. Yep, I'm going to do what you said because you gave me a direct order, because I have to do it because you're higher on the food chain than I am. What happens as soon as you leave? They're going right back to doing what they want because they don't have pride and ownership. They don't believe in the mission. You have to sell to. You can't just go into firefighters and go, hey, we just have to do this, because you're not going to fool us. We're smart. You want to solve a problem? Sit down at a dinner table in front of about 5-10 firemen, shoot it out there. That thing will be solved before dinner's done. Agreed? You're not going to fool us. So you've got to own it. Don't take credit. So hold people accountable. Hold them to the standard. So there's a quote. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I'll find it in a minute. So again, you got to hold people to the standard. If they're not meeting the standard, they got to go. They've got to go. There's no bad teams, only bad leaders is the way I feel about it. And it's not what you preach, it's what you tolerate. You can tell people all day long something. If you can tell them whatever you want. Whatever you tolerate from them is going to be the new standard. So you can be like, we're going to train hard, we're going to be awesome, we're not going to train today, guys, it's too hot. Well, guess what the new standard is? When it's hot, we don't train because it's uncomfortable. All right? Guys that quit on workouts, this is another thing. I can't tell you how many times I have hated myself because I've said, all right, today, like especially when I was trying to get ready to go to smoke diver, I was like, all right, today I'm going to do a Murph in this weighted vest. And about 3 pull-ups in, I was like, this was a really bad idea. All right, maybe I should just do a half Murph. Maybe that'd probably be good because I trained really hard yesterday. I'm probably going to train really hard tomorrow. Half Murph's probably good. I'm not doing that. I want to every single time I work out because I'm old and it hurts and it just really, really sucks. But when we condition ourselves, when we tolerate giving up on ourselves, we're setting a new standard, even if it's just for ourselves. One thing I'll never forget, that this guy was major influence on my life. was my squad leader in 375. His name was Sergeant Merritt. This guy is a Ranger legend. He went on and became the command sergeant major for the entire regiment. Was also the command sergeant major for 10th Mountain Division. This guy, 5'8", used to be a firefighter paramedic, realized that wasn't his calling. His calling was to lay down hate for the United States of America and to train people to be maniacs. This guy was training for best Ranger competition, locked his keys out of his apartment, climbed up the outside, the balcony broke, fell down, broke both arms. They told him, you're probably never going to be a Ranger again. Didn't want to hear it, cut his casts off, competed in the competition and took like third that year or something. This guy is a legend. We were on a hillside. We were on a training mission for Team Spirit in Korea. This is this big joint thing we do every year. And we're having to carry plywood and concertina wire. We almost never dug in, but for some reason we were trying to dig into this hard frozen ground, carrying plywood up. We're just smoked. And I looked at him, I was like, Sergeant, I don't know if I can do this. I was like, I think I might want to quit. And he looked, he's like, stop, put that down. He's like, you want to know what the hardest thing to do in your life the first time is? He's like, what's that, Sergeant? Quit. He's like, you want to know what you'll do the rest of your life after you do it one time? Quit. Because you realize it didn't kill you. And you'll realize, that didn't hurt so bad. I didn't die. Actually, that's pretty easy to quit. I'm over here comfortable in the rear with the gear while these guys are out here in the field still. So condition yourselves. Don't train. Own it. Own it. Own it on a personal level. Own it as a crew. And understand it's yours. It's your baby if you're going to be the leader. Don't take credit for your guys' achievements. When your crew does a jam-up job, let them own that. The pride is that you develop them into that. Don't take credit for when it goes good and then be that guy that's like, I told that guy to force entry and they totally screwed up and it took too long. Well, guess whose fault it was that it took too long for them to force entry? Yours, because you didn't do enough training. When it goes great, hey, you guys put a really good stop on that fire. Hey, you're right, my crew did an awesome job. Those guys are jam up. That's it. And those guys are going to respect you and they're going to love you. And they're going to take care of you. And that's the reward. All right, so finally for the top 6 rules, this one also stolen from my friend, Lieutenant Murph. Sorry. Every day is bring your courage to work day. Every day is bring your courage to work day. I tell those kids this in the fire college. We're not just graduating you from here because we need to make numbers or we don't want your parents upset. The first day you get out of this academy and get on the job and go ride with some of my brothers and sisters that I have all across the state, that might be your Super Bowl. That might be the biggest day of your life. That might be the biggest fire you've ever fought. I don't know. So I need to be ready. I'm on duty today. I don't know what the rest of today holds, but I know that I need to be ready. I know that I need to make sure that physically I'm prepared. That's the easy part. So we're going to go back to the station at some point today. We're going to work out. I'm going to get up tomorrow, go to my second job. I'm going to at some point of the day work out. Physically ready, that's the easy part, honestly. If we just remember that we're tactical athletes and we understand that everything we put into our body, whether it's what we see, what we hear, what we eat, the way that we train, that we can make ourselves better or we can make ourselves worse. Agreed? Second one is being mentally ready. This one's kind of tough for some guys. We all know the job. We all know what it entails. But are you mentally ready today? Did you come in? Did you leave things at the house right? Were you fighting with your wife or your girlfriend when you left the house this morning? Did you have words with your parents or your brothers, your sisters, your friends? Because, again, I don't know what today holds. I would hate to think that the last memory that my parents or my brother or my sister or my girlfriend had was of us fighting over something that I'm sure absolutely meant nothing. How many times have you guys seen someone at the firehouse that is just a wreck because they're in some kind of toxic relationship? I used to have a rescue partner. We literally, anytime we were on duty, on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday night, we had to roll by the apartment at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and this dude, the hood's warm. I'm like, what are you doing? Your mind's not in the right place. We don't need to be there. We need to make sure we're in healthy relationships. We need to make sure that we leave things right. So, and finally, I would say, are you spiritually ready? I don't know what you believe. I know what I believe. I know that if something goes bad and I'm trying to put in work to get out of that situation, I probably already need to be spiritually ready with my maker, whatever you guys believe. If you don't believe in anything and you're okay with not believing in anything and you're confident in that, okay. So I know that I'm right. Am I rough around the edges? Yep. Is my language kind of bad sometimes? Absolutely. But I know that I'm right with my maker, and I know that I'm going to be okay. So I know also if things go bad, if you call a mayday, if we're on something really bad, I accept the fact that when I come to get you, we're probably going to both go to the hospital. I get it. And I'm okay with that because I'm okay. I've tried to prepare myself emotionally, physically, spiritually to do the job today. And I think that's all we can all ask for is to make sure to develop that stuff in our crews. So, in conclusion, number 1, always look cool. Number 2, know where you're going. Know what to do when you get there. 3, safety third. Fight that complete risk aversion culture that we're experiencing. 4, T-safe. 5, own it. 6, bring your courage to work every single day. Emotionally, physically, spiritually, be ready. Now, the only other thing I'm going to talk to you about before I get off here, if nothing else I said today makes any sense, I want you to listen to this. I've lost 3 friends this year to suicide. 3. 2 of them were firemen. So, 2, I kind of got it. I was like, okay. I was like, I know these guys had some demons. One of them was a military friend of mine, definitely had some demons. Another one was a firefighter friend of mine, prior service military, knew he had some demons. Didn't make it any easier. Still my friends, still my brothers, still hurt when they lost. But when I got a text at 6 o'clock in the morning from a chief in Fort Lauderdale, and he said, hey, text me now, it's important. This guy's a friend of mine, but he ain't a friend like that. Like, he ain't calling me for bail money. You know what I mean? So I'm like, this ain't good. So I'm calling him like, hey, what's up, Chief? He's like, hey, bro, I just wanted to tell you last night, JD killed himself. And I was like, what? And JD, if you knew this guy, if you know, those of you that know me, this guy is like the South Florida version of me. He's got abs, so I get it, I know. But he looked like Ronnie from Jersey Shore. Just this big meathead, good-looking guy, good hair, like beautiful wife, successful life. This guy was a ladder truck driver down at Fort Lauderdale. This guy changed the room when he walked in. The energy of the room changed. This guy was funny. I could sit here for another 3 hours and just tell you stories. I used to travel with this guy all over the country teaching to the military. Some of the best, funniest memories of my life were with this guy, and I did not understand why. So we all do this real good job of coming to work and acting like we're squared away, spiritually, physically, emotionally. I've got this, because we're just alpha. We think it shows weakness. And I've heard Chaplain Joe say this before. We've got to change that culture that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to hurt. So this is what I've done. So if you don't get anything else out of this today, I want you to do this. What I've done, one thing I noticed, the worst thing that we've ever done, if we have these microcomputers called cell phones, we have this instant gratification. When you look on Facebook and you see a like, when you're on here, it releases dopamine. It's the same chemical that gets released when we chew tobacco, when we drink, when we gamble, when we have sex. It's that same, instant gratification, this feels good. So we're addicted to that dopamine dump all day. Sit around the Firehouse when you get back and look at what everybody's doing. Look at a restaurant next time you go. Look what everybody's doing. They're on that cell phone. We need to put the cell phone down and talk to each other at dinner and spend some quality time with each other and be like, hey, are you good? Because it's pretty easy to hide that you're hurting when your face is down and everybody else's face is down all day in that stupid cell phone. So since you guys love your cell phone so much, this is what I started doing. When JD died, I hadn't talked to JD in probably 6 months. He's from South Florida. I'm here. We both have families. We're busy. Doesn't mean I don't love him. Just means I'm busy. So I felt guilty. I was like, oh man, what if I'd have reached out to this guy? What if I would have called him and what if? And I think that's just part of the natural grieving process. So what I've done and what I would like to challenge you guys to do is don't text. Go through your contact list. Every day, what I've done, I take 2 or 3 people and I call them. Hey brother, what's going on? Nothing, what do you want? Nothing, I'm just calling to check on you. Everything good? And you'd be amazed some of the stuff I found out. I'm about into the K's, all right? One guy I called, oh yeah, my dad just passed away. Oh man, I didn't even know. Do you guys need anything? You want me to make some food, bring it? What do you need? Another guy, oh man, I'm getting divorced. Oh hey, my kid's sick. They're not going to reach out to you and tell you that stuff because it looks weak and we don't want to complain. It's your responsibility to reach out to them. Hey brother, hey sister, how are you doing? Is everything good? So 2 or 3 days, 2 or 3 people a day, I just go through and I call. And then when I get to the end, I'm going to start right back over because I'm never going to what if I would have called this guy again. I'm not going to save everybody that way, but I'm here for you. If you need me, you can call me, and I won't judge you, and I'll take what you tell me to the grave. All right? So for at least one cycle, go through your contacts, call 2 or 3 people a day, call them, don't text them. Hey, how are you doing? Are you okay? What's going on in your life? And I think you'll be amazed to find out, rekindle those friendships, and people feel good just to know, hey, somebody cares. So if you're one of my friends that starts with Z, I'm coming. I just ain't got there yet. So hold on. So, well, guys, I appreciate it. It was a great honor to speak to you guys today. It's always nerve-wracking to speak in front of your peers. When you teach in front of students, it doesn't matter. I can tell them the earth's flat. They'll believe me. True? All right. I see some people I've taught out here. It really did mean a lot to me to be here with you guys today. I appreciate the opportunity. And please know, if you ever need anything, I see most of you guys are counting out as your Ocala families here for you. These patches are different, but they mean the same thing. So, thank you. Pope out. I love you, brother. You too.
Hey guys, we're going to take a 5-minute break. There's some water back here. Restroom break, get some water, and then we'll start back up here with Captain Cunningham. Thank you.
Thanks, brother. Oh, thanks, man. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Good job.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
That was awesome, Doug.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate it. Yes, sir. Ah!
All right, guys. We're about to get back to our next presenter, Captain Shaun Cunningham. He's been with the department for 16 years. He's worked in training. He's worked in logistics. He's got a pretty well-rounded idea of how the department works. Phenomenal instructor, and been a big influence on us when we were at 33. To get this whole thing that we're doing right now, he was one of the major influences in getting that going. So I'm really thankful to have him here. Please give him a round of applause. Thanks, Cap, for coming in.
Mic'd up.
Drop that over your shoulder or in your pocket.
Yeah. All right, cool. Thanks.
Morning.
I want to thank you for having me. It's an honor to be able to be asked by your peers to come speak, especially on an important topic like leadership. Before we get started, kind of appropriate, I want to thank all the veterans in the room and out in the audience for your service. I wasn't a veteran, but I was born on Veterans Day. I don't know if that gives me any bonus points, but I'll take it. So a little background. I've been with the department for 16 years. I got hired on as a single cert fireman, promoted up through the ranks all the way to captain, which I currently am now, and I'm the district captain in District 3A shift, the best one in the department. I'll fight anyone over that one. Yes, after we're done talking. But early in my career, I can't sit here and say that when I was a kid, I definitely wanted to be a fireman. What I wanted to be was a professional baseball player. That was my big goal. The mom's side of my family, all the men were firemen. My uncle is currently a lieutenant in Leesburg. My grandfather retired from Leesburg. My great-grandfather was a fireman in West Virginia. On my dad's side, they were all military, Marine, Air Force, Army. So again, service in my family has always been there. But I was going to kind of be the exception to the rule. So I came up, got drafted out of high school, went and played baseball, injured my shoulder, and career was done. Had really no idea what I was going to do. Was kind of lost for a little bit. Military was always the option. Actually was looking at joining the Marine Corps. And then my uncle, sitting around with my uncle and my grandfather one Thanksgiving dinner, they said, hey, before you actually go and make that commitment, why don't you, not that they wanted to change my mind, they thought it was great, like, why don't you come down to the Firehouse and ride with us? Of course, I was lost at the time, so I said, sure, yeah, no problem. I don't have anything to lose. So I went down, and we're sitting there checking the trucks off, washing the trucks, and right out of the gate, about 8:45 in the morning, multi-vehicle MVA with 3 flyouts. And I got to see the guys work together as a team. Well, coming from that background of a sports-oriented background and team orientation, I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And then hearing the guys talk about it back at the Firehouse and just kind of decompress, and it was awesome. So that's what got me started and one of the things that got me started into the fire service. Another one was I had a brother that died in 2000 in a car accident, and come to find out when I went through paramedic school, my lead instructor was the one who worked him. So we actually had a great conversation at lunch one time and kind of dove into that. So those were some 2 big points in my life that led me into the fire service and moving up to the ranks and obtaining my paramedic and getting me to where I am today. The other ones are my parents, my wife who wanted to be here, but she's home with a sick child. Sorry, honey. She's watching online. So getting into the root of the topic of leadership, there's going to be reoccurring themes that I think come out of these seminars, but they're important. Leadership is important. However your leaders function and operate, that's how your organization goes. If you have bad leadership, your organization's going to fail. You have to have good leaders. I don't consider myself as a subject matter expert, and sometimes the things that I do, I can't really explain. I just do them. But we'll try to talk a little bit, and I won't make it painful for you. And we'll have a little, hopefully, some open dialogue and work through this. So the biggest thing is anyone can be a leader. It doesn't matter whether you have a bunch of collar brass or your tailboard on an engine. You have some form of leadership role. The tailboard guy on the engine, if you get another guy that's a probie, who usually gets assigned to teach the probie how things are run around the firehouse? It's usually that tailboard. That's a leadership role. Okay? It filters down. And those tailboard guys that are teaching these probies, they need to take that seriously. Just don't go through the motions. This is how you scrub a toilet. This is how you mop a floor. Yeah, they need to know the certain nuances of the firehouse. But take the time and show them, hey, this is a K-12. This is how you take it apart. This is how you service it. I've seen them go as far as pull up specs on that particular saw and go over the RPMs. Break it down. That's excellent. That's what we want to do. Just like Dan alluded to earlier, we have a lot of millennials coming in nowadays. They've never touched a saw. They don't even know how to start it. So why not break it down and show them everything that tool is capable of, as we all should. Knowing our job, knowing our tools, knowing the limits that our tools are capable of. Okay? If you think this saw can do something but it can't because you haven't researched it, you haven't learned it, you haven't been taught it, then that's on you. We need to take the time and go over this stuff with our people. A couple things that help me. That how do I say it? That I've read here lately, and Lieutenant Moody turned me on to it, and Dan mentioned it earlier. There's a couple books that I've read, and I've read quite a bit throughout, but these really hit home, and were some books written by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. Again, Jocko Willink and Leif were in the SEAL teams for about 20 years. Jocko was a task unit commander, and just a different type of leader. Really gets it, was never me. It was always about the team, the overall mission. The first book, like Dana mentioned, Extreme Ownership. Great book. I've read it 3 or 4 times. I've got all kinds of notes in it, highlights. It's an excellent book, a lot of good leadership points that really make sense. Another one is called Discipline Equals Freedom. Written by Jocko Willink. It's just thoughts on leadership, just random thoughts that he's compiled. Another great book. And you're going to see a recurring theme also with the same author. The other one is The Dichotomy of Leadership. This one is, I think it's even better than Extreme Ownership because it really dives into the dichotomy of leadership. If you don't know what the dichotomy is, it's those opposing forces that a good leader has to learn to balance out. And what that means is, are you going to be strict and firm? You have to be firm to a certain point, but you can't be so firm that you're counterproductive to your team. You want to have your team be free thinkers. You don't want to have to make every decision for them and micromanage, because then they're going to lose initiative. So it's a great book. And then again, the Jocko podcast. I listen to it about every morning. When I get up, I'm outside washing my truck or whatever, going off duty. I get up like 5 in the morning, so I'm not 4 or 4:30 like Jocko, but I'm pretty close. I've always been a morning person anyway. Lieutenant Moody can tell you I'd get up early at 33, work out, do my thing. But I just listen. And it's all about life experience, leadership, different thoughts, different ideas. He answers questions, and there's some really good questions. And a lot of it's based on military, but he also dives into first responders because we are, for the most part, paramilitary organizations. So the correlation is there. They also go and they analyze companies, major corporations, look at their leadership styles, and they help sort things out when they're having issues. Really super person. I've never met the guy. Actually, Lieutenant Moody has. He's met him personally and had nothing but good things to say about him. So that's, again, I thank you because it really turned me on to that, and it's excellent leadership points. So when it comes to leadership, it's the greatest single factor that has an effect on your organization. What type of leadership is heading your organization? Again, is it ineffective or is it effective? The attitude of your leadership is what's going to drive your organization. If your leadership is just kind of hands-off, laissez-faire. If that's your style, your guys are going to get, while they may have free thinking, they're going to get off in the weeds, and not much is going to get accomplished, okay? Because you're going to have too many ideas moving in too many different directions. You got to have some form of hand on the wheel to help guide. And again, that doesn't mean micromanage. There's that dichotomy word again. You're going to see a lot of that. Leadership is not easy. There are a lot of dichotomies that affect how you lead. It's not that simple. So you do want to have some form of control and oversight, but you don't want to handcuff your crews. Okay. Sorry, guys. This is one of my most nervous things I've ever done. All right. So these thoughts, they affect every leader in your organization, not just one. Your leaders have to be on the same page. Again, we'll liken it to Marion County Fire Rescue. Right now, our chief went out on an island for us. We just got a big raise. He's under the gun. He has an overall mission. It's our job to carry that out. He set the parameters, okay? Being professional, being courteous, looking the part, knowing our job. That's what he expects of us. It's our job to carry forth and accomplish the overall mission. That's what all the parts of the puzzle do. That's what all the pieces do. Not one is better than the other. Not one position is greater than the other. It all works together. That's the only way it's going to work. If you have one district who's doing one thing and another district doing another thing, but they're not meeting and jiving in the middle, all of a sudden, again, you're going in two different directions and now you're opposing each other. We have to be on the same page. I've been lucky enough through my career, like Lieutenant Moody alluded to. I was a captain in logistics. I went to training in safety and was a safety officer. And for a couple months, I got to be the acting division chief. I was honored to be asked to perform in that role. They all had their own challenges, but the one thing in common was they all also had excellent support staff. I had officers and other people that I could ask or call on when I ran into an issue, and it didn't have to be another chief. It could be a lieutenant, it could be a line fireman. It didn't matter. I had to have an open mind and listen to what people said because I don't know everything. That's one of the biggest things as a leader, I think, is you don't have to come in knowing everything because the guys are going to see right through that in a heartbeat. Don't be afraid to ask questions. So that really helped me, but that also helped me understand the overall mission that Chief has put forth and help understand his expectations and see what he's trying to accomplish. Because I was one of the pieces that had to help fulfill that. So I was lucky in that aspect, and it did. It helped me become a more, I think, well-rounded leader. And again, I just do the best that I can. And some of this I may be really bad at explaining, but I'm doing my best. All right. The frontline leaders, actually all leaders, you have to have the confidence of the leaders below you and the leaders above you. The confidence that you're trusted to do the job, and that if something happens, you have the backup. They're going to support you. You don't want to lead from fear of screwing up. We're all human. We're all going to make mistakes. We're going to make bad decisions. The only thing you can do is make the best decision you're capable of with the knowledge that you have at the present time. But if it's wrong, and I've made wrong decisions, but again, I've had good officers who didn't beat me down and be like, "Oh, what are you doing? What were you thinking?" They pulled me to the side and said, "Hey, explain to me why you made that decision." So I'd explain it to them. And for the most part, I'm not saying there wasn't one like, "Hey, dude, that was just completely wrong. I don't know what you were thinking there. That was off." For the most part, they were, "All right, I understand why you made the decision at the time, but did you think about this?" No, I didn't. It's a learning point. You can take learning points from everything. And I think that's an important part of leadership, is to be able to teach our people from their mistakes. Again, we're all firemen, apex predators, type A personalities. There's going to be a level of messing around with the guy and be like, oh, that was really stupid. But, if you come back and you actually make it a learning point, I think that's an excellent opportunity. We can all learn from those. You have to also let the leaders know what's within their decision-making authorities. What are you allowed to make decisions on? What are the parameters for making those decisions? I think sometimes where those bad decisions come in is because the leader that made the decision, whatever level it's at, didn't understand exactly what parameters he was functioning in. You have to have that understanding, and we have to express that to them. All right, hey, you can do this. This is within your scope, but there's certain parameters you also have to meet with that. And I think for the most part, everyone has a pretty good understanding of that. And every now and then, something out of the ordinary comes along and can kind of shock the system. But that's where we lean on each other. Again, there's not one person running the whole deal. There's a group of leaders working together. I've learned more from other leaders at different levels. Like I said, they weren't all chiefs. I've learned a lot from lieutenants, drivers, tailboards. It doesn't matter. You just can't be afraid to ask. Again, don't act like you know everything. It's okay to not know something. Just know who you can rely on and know who you can ask. So we get into some traits of good leaders. I know a lot of these are probably going to be some reoccurring themes again, but they're important. There's a reason they always come back around as far as traits. And you'll notice some, again, that are in corporate world, military, fire, police, whatever the case may be. They're standard traits, but they're important traits. So one of them, honesty and integrity. Goes without saying, right? You got to be honest and you got to have integrity. You have to be able to stand up for what's right, even if someone doesn't agree with you. But you can have those discussions. Again, you can agree to disagree, but if you're honest and you have your integrity, don't be afraid to stand up to something. I've had a couple instances in my career where there were some decisions made and I did not agree with them based on honesty and my integrity. But there's a way to handle it. You do have to remember sometimes who you're addressing. If you're addressing a supervising officer, there is a way to get your point across. Okay? And I know we like to be that type A and buck the system sometimes, but there's a courtesy and a way to do that, for lack of a better term. You also have to be afraid, or not be afraid, to ask why. One of the biggest things coming up through my career was when things were coming down the pipe, a lot of the guys would just ask, why are we doing this? I don't understand. Why are we implementing this now? What's the goal? And we used to always joke around coming up again through the department. It's like everything's so G14 classified. Why? A lot of times the guys just want to know why. As the leaders, we need to ask that. If my chief comes down and wants me to have my guys start doing something that is out of the norm or it's coming down the pipe, it's a new policy, okay, chief, hey, I'll carry forth the mission, but why are we doing this? What's the end game? When I go tell my guys and they don't understand, what can I tell them to make them understand? It's communication. How many of you guys have thought that here in your departments? They just don't tell us why we're doing something. One of the biggest reasons the guys just have some mistrust is because they don't know why. So I have a thing. I'm probably pretty bad at it. I don't keep secrets. If my guys ask me something, I tell them why I know. If I've had the discussion about it, I tell them what it is. I don't hide it. I got some guys in here too that I've talked to, so they can vouch for me on this. I don't hold back. I don't keep secrets. Again, when I was riding up his division and was fortunate to sit in on some meetings, There were some things that have actually helped me now as a district captain. When these guys ask me questions, I can speak on that from firsthand knowledge. That's important, you know. Relay to the crews why we're doing it, what the objectives are, what the end mission is, what chief is trying to accomplish. We have to know in order to carry forth the mission. Another one is confidence. Leaders have to be confident, right? Other than public speaking, because that one is I'm not confident on that. But we have to be confident. Now, there's a difference between confidence and cockiness, all right? You can be confident in your skill. You can be confident in your knowledge, but don't go around thumping your chest thinking you're better than people. Having this extra bugle or whatever on my collar does not make me any better than anyone else in this department. All it is a higher rank, but it doesn't make me better. I still get out and train with guys. I still work out at the station. I still get with the crews. If there's extra trainings involved or classes going on, I jump in them. Even if they're on the 28th or 29th, there's an engine company operations class. I've been through quite a few throughout my career, but I'm going to do it again. That's so I can maintain confidence in my skill and the guys can maintain confidence in me. Okay? We've all had those guys who are floating to our stations or show up on scene, and you get the first initial reaction is, "Oh, great, Captain Cunningham's here." We don't want to be that guy, right? We want to show up or float to the station, and you want to have the other reaction. "Oh, great, Captain Cunningham's here. Stuff's going to get handled." That's what we want. That's what we're trying to accomplish. We don't want to be have that stain on our reputation that diminishes the crew's confidence in us. And again, this is from top to bottom. If you're teaching that probie, you want to teach them right. Don't teach them the wrong way. Don't teach them shortcuts. They need to learn the long way before they can start getting advanced and having shortcuts. Every step. Inspire others. We have to be able to inspire others. That doesn't mean just with words. Anyone can talk. Anyone can be eloquent. Anyone can have the ability to speak to crowds and motivate. You also have to do it with actions. Okay? Again, going out to these classes, attending classes, getting down with the guys and girls, getting dirty on these training evolutions, working out with your crews. A lot of that builds morale. It inspires your people. You know, if they see, they see me out there working out, I can't tell you how many times I've jumped into gear, and next thing you know, I got 3 or 4 guys at the station grabbing their gear and coming out. I don't do it for that effect. I just do it because that's what I do, and that's what I like to do. But the mentality is out there because you see someone else doing it. You don't want them doing it by themselves, because we work in teams, we work as partners. So inspiring others is a key trait that we have to be able to do. But again, not just with words, not just talking. We need to do it by actions and showing the way. Commitment and passion. You have to have a commitment and passion for the job. If you're just going through the motions, and there's guys out there, we all know them. Again, not to pick on anyone, but everyone knows we've had tailboard firemen that have been in the service 25, 30 years, and all they've done is just ride the system. Now, you do have guys that are tailboard, and that's all they want to be, and they're excellent at their job. 100%, that's what you want. But there are others out there that aren't. They're not committed. They're not passionate. And they don't take any extra classes. They don't learn anything. They're just riding it out. We have to instill that in them some way, whether that's through inspiration, getting out there and getting them engaged. You know, if we're doing training and someone's just kind of hiding out in the corner, I'll call them. Hey, you know what? Why don't you teach us? It's not calling them out to be a jerk. It's I want to get them engaged. I want them to get involved in the training evolution. Because if not, you'll just let them hide out in the corner. And they will. They'll stay there, right in the shadow, and never really fully buy into the commitment and passion. This is not a job. It's a call. We all know that who's in this room. Obviously, we're here. You know, we could be somewhere else right now. But you guys came here and you listened to Dan talk. He's a hard act to follow. And now you're listening to me ramble, and I appreciate it. But we have to have the commitment and passion for the job, and the leaders have to exude that. The commitment to the mission and the passion to complete the mission. It will filter down. It's contagious. We have to be able to do that and get others involved. The dichotomy to that is the commitment and the passion and the honesty, sometimes you'll get people who are, well, I'm just honest, that's just the way I am. I get it. But that does not give you a pass to be a jerk. Okay? We have to know how to talk to people, which leads into my next one, a good communicator. Not just talking, but also listening. Get out there with your crews. Talk to them. Again, put the cell phones down. We have I know at a lot of the stations they've instituted at dinner time, the cell phones aren't even at the table. Put them away, turn the TV off, and let's talk. That's part of the communication. Because if you don't, again, like Dan said, the guys will just sit there on the phone, checking Facebook, Instagram, whatever social media there is out there now. I know there's a bunch of them. I don't even know half of them. My kids who are 11 and 12 know more than I do. But put the phones down and talk to each other. Dinner table's a great opportunity. A lot of times that's usually when we can get together is at night. Call volume kind of slows down a little bit. We're sitting around the dinner table, eating a good meal. Hey man, how's your day been? How was that call? You doing all right at home? Everything good? Because it is. It's important. Again, just like Dan hit on a lot of key points. If you have a good life at home, your head's going to stay in the game at work. You're balanced. Those are those opposing forces that I talk about. You can be good at work, but you have a rough spell at home, fighting with your wife, fighting with your husband, whatever the case may be. It's hard not to bring that to work, but our head has to be in the game. There's lives that depend on it. So talk to your crews, get involved. A lot of crews get together on their off days. A lot of 33s here. I see and as long as I've known Lieutenant Moody, they've always been that way, and that's great. 10 with McKinney. I mean, that's what the fire service was developed on. Was that camaraderie and that brotherhood. Decision-making capabilities. Make a decision. How many times have we been on scene and we've seen a leader, whoever the case may be, just kind of hem-haw, back and forth, waffle, and at some point you're just like, just make a decision. Right, wrong, or indifferent, make a call. If it's wrong, we can talk about it later. Unless it's something that is just very dangerous as far as safety and going to get someone hurt or even killed. There has to be a balance there again. But just making decisions. Guys have to have confidence in your decision-making capability. If you don't have confidence, then you're going to let those decisions, they're just going to roll off your back. So we have to be better at that. And we have to learn to make a call, especially when we're under pressure. Again, there's nothing wrong with a bad decision, or not a bad decision, but a wrong decision, because we're human. We're trying to do the best we can with the information we have at the time. Accountability. This is one of the bigger ones. We always hear about it, and I don't mean the accountability tags. That's a different animal altogether. We're all bad at that. Accountability, accepting ownership. If something goes wrong, you don't point the finger and you don't blame someone else. You look in the mirror first. What did I do? Were my instructions not clear? Did I not set forth the appropriate parameters that I wanted the mission accomplished in? We all have different parameters for different things. But sometimes they can get a little muddled and get unclear. That goes back to the good communicator. We have to be able to talk to our crews and talk to our leaders so that way we can accomplish things. The accountability is the biggest one in my mind, because it's too easy to point the finger to someone else. Oh, my district had a fire and burnt this house down. Oh, well, the lieutenant was on scene. He had command initially, and he instituted the whole mission from there, so it's his problem. No, that's mine. Obviously, we didn't train enough. We didn't go over our skills. We didn't review them, and we didn't practice. It's the accountability. And you get that when you teach. I know some of the guys that are instructors in here, you see it. Guys will come up to do training, and the first thing you'll hear is, "Oh, why are we doing this again?" We do search and rescue all the time. We do it because it's our bread and butter, and we have to be good at it. And the same ones who come up and complain about doing it again get it wrong each and every time. And when we do a hot wash, we go over it with them. Again, coming from a sports background, how many ground balls do you think a professional shortstop has fielded in his career? Thousands upon thousands. How many times do you think a quarterback has thrown the same pass route, run the same play over and over and over again? These are professional athletes. What are we? We're professional athletes. We have to train until we don't train until you get it right. Train until you can't get it wrong. So if that goes back to the accountability and training hard. You know, if they get it wrong, talk about it. Explain to them what they did wrong. You know, again, we're firemen. There's going to be a little making fun of somebody. As long as it's all in fun, everyone's good. And then, hey, let's pick it up and let's run it back. Let's keep doing it until we get it right. Or that just kind of negated what I said. Do it till we can't get it wrong. But if it takes a couple times doing it, that's fine. And you know, training should not be punitive. Training should be fun. Where I want my guys to make mistakes are on the training grounds. If we go up there and we have to do something 3 or 4 times, that's fine. We learned 3 or 4 ways that it didn't work. So let's do it the right way, and let's do it until we can't get it wrong. And then when we get out in a real life scenario, we won't run into an issue. We're ready to rock and roll. Again, with the accountability, you get into the dichotomy. You don't want to enable your people. Now, what I mean by that is you do want to empower your people to make decisions and enable them as far as that's concerned, but you don't want to enable them so much that now they lose all decision-making capabilities. Does that make sense? Am I explaining that right? It's kind of that's one of those, you have to find the balance, and it's hard. You know, you want to be so hands-on, but you don't want to micromanage. You want to have some free thought, because someone may have an idea that you didn't think of, and you know, hey, this is what I was thinking. What do you think? Let's try it. And then you do it and you train on it. It's like, you know what? That was an awesome deal. I didn't even think of that. That worked perfect. Just something else we can use. So that leads into the delegation and empowerment. Another trait that I think is very important. So we want our officers to be free thinkers and make decisions. They have to understand, again, their decision-making authority, and they have to understand the parameters they have in order to make those decisions. You don't want to have too much free thought where all of a sudden you got different companies opposing each other. Again, it's that balance. If it was easy, everyone would do it. It is very, very hard, and personalities come into this. You know, some guys are a lot easier and understand it better. Others are going to fight it. You have to learn how to deal with the personalities. And sometimes just by the delegation and empowerment, you can create those and help steer them in the right way. So you can channel that. You know, if I got a guy that's a very type A, hard-charging, you know, no quit, I want most of my guys to be that way, but you're not going to have all your crew like that. Some guys are a little more laid back and aren't going to be that hard-charging guy, so typically I would pair them up. They usually work really well together because they complement each other well. You know, not all the time, but again, you got to find the balance. It's difficult. Again, like I said, if you empower them too much or you micromanage too much, then your guys will lose the decision-making capabilities, and they'll have no initiative. They'll lose their initiative because they'll just sit around and they'll wait for you to tell them what to do. That's not what we want. That's not what I need on a fire scene. You know, you want to have that balance to where when they show up on a fire scene, because I may not be there right away, but the lieutenants are very good at what they do, Most times they get on a fire scene, they're the ones that are doing what? They're implementing the initial mission right out of the gate. They set the tone. If I have a lieutenant who shows up, is not confident with his decision making, his tactics, that whole call can go south in a hurry. If you have a guy who's very good tactically, just on the opposite, and knows what he wants done and can communicate that, hey, by the time I get there, because I could be coming from town, a meeting, whatever the case may be, it's handled. And I let him run with it. You know, hey, you got everything's getting taken care of. Do you need me to do anything? Do you need me to take safety? Whatever. That's fine. That's what you want. Empower your people. Trust them to make the right decisions. And if they don't, then have a teaching moment. Explain to them what they're doing wrong. They'll never know unless you tell them. You know, not everything is rainbows and butterflies, and everyone makes the right decision all the time. But let them know. Empathy. Not everyone functions 100%, 100% of the time. Again, it falls back into that dichotomy of if their head's in the game, what do they have going on outside of the firehouse? Yes, we should have our head in the game all the time, but we're human. We have emotions. We have feelings. We're not robots. That guy may be going through a divorce. He's not really thinking straight. It's our job to be empathetic, but also to try to get him where he needs to be because the team is going to be relying on him. Okay? And again, it is very difficult. I still struggle with that. I have a lot of times where Chief Rogers can tell you hey, this person's so-and-so. I'm like, get rid of them. You know, it's hard. You have to kind of dive a little further and know your people. You know, again, in safety, it was a little harder because I got a whole department. Now with a district, it's easier. I have my guys. I'm still, new to that district, so I'm learning these guys, their personalities, their traits. But I get out and I talk with them, and we don't always have to talk tactics when I come around the firehouse. We can talk hunting, fishing, sports, whatever. It's getting to know your people, and that way you have that empathy, and you know if something's not right. You know, I had one the other day. I had a guy on my crew that he just wasn't acting right, wasn't himself. And I've known him a lot longer than, coming into the district. So I said, hey, man, everything all right? And then he told me what was going on. I was like, oh, okay. And it was late at night. And it was just him and I. Everyone else was in bed. So I sat there for about an hour just talking to him. Am I going to fix the situation? No. But it means a lot if your officer is willing to sit down and talk to you and have that empathy and listen to you. If nothing else, just let him get it off his chest. Sometimes that can make you feel 100 times better. Hey, I talked about it. I feel better. Let's move on. Be humble. Leaders have to be humble. It's easy to go around and thump your chest. I did this. I did that. You hear guys talk about legacies. I want to do this for the department. I want to leave my mark on the department. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But I'm saying if you take care of your people and you help accomplish the overall mission, your legacy will take care of itself. It's doing your job. I got no problem with people being motivated and wanting to do more. That's great. But why are you wanting to do more? Are you wanting to do more to be self-serving? Or are you actually wanting to do more to help the organization? That's what you want. Help the organization and help chief or whatever your principal officer or your lead officer is called accomplish the mission so the organization is successful. But be humble. It was a couple years ago, had an incident in a baseball game where, it was funny. But it went nuts. Lieutenant Moody was there the night it happened with the internet and all that stuff. And the only reason I bring that up is because my wife was talking to me about it. And there was pictures all over. You name it, I saw it everywhere. And my wife was like, hey, these people want to call and interview you and your son or whatever. I'm like, no. Again, just to backtrack a little bit, coming up with sports, I had my name in the paper a lot with football, baseball, the whole deal. So I was just kind of like, nah, I'm not into that. I'm over that. And my wife was like, yeah, but Landon, our son, he thinks that would be something awesome, something cool. And I was like, yeah, you're right. So we did the deal for a little bit, had a good time. My son, who was 7 at the time, was on cloud 9 because he got to talk to Michael Strahan on Good Morning America and some other stuff. But not that it has anything to really do with the fire department, but that's one of those things where, could I have gotten a big head because my name was all over the internet and news and everything? Yeah, you could, but why? It was just something that happened, an incident at a game that any father would do for his kid. That's what we do. We protect them. But just be humble. It doesn't matter what happens in your life. You can be humble. Discipline. It's another good trait. I'm very much a creature of habit. I get up 5 in the morning, sometimes 4:30, but we're usually right around in there. I have my routines in the morning, coming on shift, off-going shift, and I don't like them to be interrupted. So usually when I'm oncoming and I get a call like 8:15 in the morning, I get back from that call, it takes me a good 20 minutes to decompress, to get back on track, because my whole morning routine has been jacked up. But that's where the discipline comes in. Again, the book that Jocko Willink wrote, Discipline Equals Freedom. I preach this to my guys all the time. Lieutenant McKinney's one of my guys. He can tell you. If we're disciplined and we stay on task and we accomplish what we're supposed to, that means, and it's the mundane part, our reports are done, our training entries are complete, our Firehouse reports are complete, our pre-plans are done. That takes discipline to stay on task and complete all those objectives. Well, if they're complete, Chief sees that. They notice that. They run these reports. So if that's done, that's that discipline equals freedom. Chief will come and say, I want to have another training evolution, an extra one with my guys, and say, hey, Chief, I'm thinking about doing this with my district. I want to rotate them through. I want to do some extrication. What do you think about this? If they see that we're on task and we're completing all our objectives, what do you think Chief's going to say? Hey, you know what? You don't cause me any problems. Your guys do your job. You stay on point. Yeah, you know what? Go ahead. But if I do that and we're 2 months behind on pre-plans because we're not disciplined, if I was a chief, I'd be like, no, you can spend better time getting those pre-plans done. I'm not saying they're against training. I get it. Again, you get to the dichotomy. You don't want to negate the guys from training, but we do have to have overall objectives that we have to complete. Plus, discipline has a direct effect on motivation, I believe. And actually, Jocko Willink hits on this really good, so does Leif. Motivation comes and goes. Not everyone is motivated all the time. But you can be disciplined all the time. There's days I don't feel like working out. I've had a long day, didn't get much sleep the night before, whatever the case may be. Insert the reason here. But discipline will carry you through that. Nope, I do it every afternoon. It's part of my routine. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to grind through it. It may not be the most intense workout I've ever done, but I'm going to do something. I'm going to get out there and move. I'm going to sweat, and I'm going to challenge myself. So discipline is very, very important. Another one that people don't really think about is fear. How many people think fear is a good trait of a leader? Maybe not afraid of, just for example, afraid of heights or anything, but fear of failure. That's why we train. That's why we take classes. That's why we educate ourselves. The fear of failure will push you forward, or it should, especially as a leader. I don't want to fail my division chief, so I push my guys. It goes up and down the ranks. Lieutenants don't want to fail their captains, so they push their crews. It's top to bottom. Fear is a good thing. Fear will drive you. It gets a bad rap for being negative. It's not always a negative aspect or a negative trait. It can push you and drive you towards your goals because you don't want to let somebody down. I don't want to let my guys down. Hands down, I will do anything for them. I don't want to let them down. So I have to stay on top of my game, and fear of failure keeps me driven to keep pushing forward. Again, anyone can be a leader. This is not just exclusive to people with a bunch of collar brass sitting in an administrative office. This can be lieutenants, drivers, tailboard, captains. It doesn't matter. Everyone is a leader at some point or another in the Firehouse. That's the way we work. Yes, we have lieutenants who are overall, especially captains for the city. We have lieutenants; they're the overall for the station. But everyone has some kind of leadership aspect within. You got the drivers, who are the buffer between the lieutenant and the crews. You have the tailboard or whatever. If you have a 4-man crew and are lucky enough, you have a probie. That leadership role of teaching the probie the right way to do things. Anyone can be a leader. You just have to accept it and challenge yourself to be the best leader you can be. Again, it's not easy. There are so many different opposing forces fighting against you that you can falter one way or the other. It's hard. If it was easy, everyone could do it. It takes special people. Don't be afraid to step up and learn the job above you. That can help broaden your horizons. It can also help you understand that mission, the overall mission, or even the piece of the puzzle that you have control over in that mission. Again, when I went into logistics, did I want to go into logistics? No. I don't know any fireman who goes through fire school saying, you know what, I hope I run our department's logistics division one day. No, not at all. But looking back on it, I can tell you it was a great learning experience. I learned the behind the scenes on how the department functions. I mean, when you're sitting there and you're responsible for a $54 million budget and you're writing checks for $1.4 million on trucks, you get a little nervous and a little nauseous. The first time I ever used the P card, I went and bought $5 worth of spoons, and the girls in procurement laughed at me. And they said, why did you spend so little? I said, because if I screwed it up, I wanted to be able to pay it back. By the end of the year, and by the end of my term in logistics, I was 60, 70,000, 100,000. I mean, because the guys need the equipment. And if I'm not willing to step up and take that position, who's going to do it for them? I'd rather it be me, and then I do the best that I can for the guys to get them the resources and the equipment that they need to do the job. Same with safety and training. Now that one I was a little more willing to go into because I wasn't dealing with a bunch of money and logistics part of it. And it was that movement we were moving to implement safety officers, which we need. That's the departments are going to that. It was definitely a legitimate move. But I learned a lot there too. It made me a better instructor. Instead of just showing up and teaching stuff, I was actually developing classes and objectives and missions on what we want to accomplish in training and developing new props and new programs. Again, I learned a lot. Taking that next step and learning different jobs, broadening your horizons. When I was asked to fill in for Chief Blackburn when he went out on injury, I'll tell you, I was very apprehensive. That was a big one. So now I go from having this little bubble of training and safety where we're doing training objectives. Now I was in charge of a division, all of C shift and operations for the day. And Captain Chappell rides up, Captain Rio rides up. He can tell you that's a daunting task someday, dealing with rosters, sick call-outs, mandatory, discipline, whatever happens, it filters up to you. And there's a lot of hard decisions that have to be made. And they're not fun, not all of them. But the hard decisions have to be made. If you're not willing to step up and make those hard decisions, then who are you to second guess the people making them? just the way I believe, the way I feel. Again, that all falls into, if everyone does their job efficiently, then everyone moves towards the mission of the organization, and the mission gets accomplished. And at the end of the day, that's what we all want, right? We want our organizations to be successful. We want our chief to be successful. If he's successful and our organization's successful, well, then maybe that leads to more stuff. Grants, funding, manpower. If we're successful and he looks good, and he goes in front of the commission or the city council, and he promotes all this, oh, you guys need an extra 20 people on your trucks? Hey, you know what? Look at all the money we saved doing this because they were efficient. Everyone did their jobs. Chief did this. Well, then you get the approval, and you get the staffing, or the equipment that you really need or that you want. That all falls on us. That is our job as leaders to promote that and carry out the overall organization mission. So with that being said, all the responsibility falls on us, good and bad. Again, Dan alluded to that. You don't point the finger. If something goes wrong, especially in my district, that's on me. That's my call. I made the decision, whether I wasn't clear with it or whatever, it all falls back on me. Extreme ownership. Instead of pointing the finger, look at yourself. Figure out what you did wrong or what decision you made that affected that issue. We have to train and mentor our underperforming personnel. Again, millennials coming in, they're a different breed. That's on us to train and work with them. We have to be able to exhaust every resource available to train these people and bring them up to speed with our crews. That's on us as leaders. If we've done that and used everything available, then again, I'm with Dan. You have to make the hard decision. Look, I've done everything: personal time, personal resources, professional contacts. They are underperforming, and they're just not getting it. Again, the overall mission is the most important thing, and if they can't cut it, we have to get rid of them and find someone that can. They're going to drag the rest of the team down. Because now you're devoting all your time to them and trying to help them. The rest of the team sees that. And then that becomes the new norm. Substandard expectations, they get lowered. In this job, that's what gets people killed. We have to make the hard decisions if we need to cut them loose. We also have to remove ego. Again, it goes back to the legacies. Remove ego, personal agenda. I know I keep saying it, but it is. It's all about the overall mission of the department. That's what defines the success of us and our organization. The ability to carry chief's objectives out to move the department in the right organization and accomplish the mission. We have to work with others to accomplish that, to solve problems, not place blame. It's very easy, again, to get into the blame game. We have to work together, talk, discuss, solve problems. My solution may not be what Captain Lieberman's solution is, but I bet if we get together, we can compromise on one and we'll have a successful completion of the objective. That's what you want. Removing personal ego. I've had arguments with other captains on their thought process, and again, it wasn't because they had a bad idea or I had a bad idea. It's they had a personal, not so much ego, but they had a thought on the way they wanted to accomplish it, and I had my thought. But once we actually talked about it, we compromised and met right in the middle, and we found out our objective was the same. We just had two paths to get there. So we had to be able to put the ego aside and talk about it and compromise, and it was fun. We have to be able to set that stuff aside. Again, Dan took my quote I was going to use. There are no bad teams, only bad leaders. It's a great quote. It really is. If you look at every underperforming team I guarantee you can track it back to their leadership because they've allowed it to happen. They've set low expectations, and those have become the norm, and that's how the guys function. We have to set high expectations, and we have to stick to them. Hold people accountable. It's not being a jerk. It's not picking on someone. It's sticking to those expectations and making sure they're understood, and then holding them accountable. As leaders, we should also never be satisfied, ever, with any expectations or performance. We should always strive to improve, strive to get better. You know, if you want to train, great. Training is great. Challenge your crews. Don't make it some, you know what, we don't really have the props or whatever, so we're just going to kind of go in here. Just close your eyes and pretend that it's dark and smoky and you can't see. No, there's other things you can do. Press and seal, smoke machines. Challenge them. Another good one is once you do a training session, if your guys are packing up and they're tired because they trained or whatever, hey, you know what? Tone out another call. Hey, you know what? We're on the way back to the station. We just caught another structure fire. There it is right there. Go to work. They're exhausted. They're tired. You've challenged them. We don't always get to run other calls when we're nice and refreshed. Got back to the station, got some water, got a shower, hung out and, watched TV for a couple hours. Yeah, how many of you come back from fighting a fire and you got stuff laid everywhere? You just came out of your gear, maybe down to your knees. You're sitting in the cab of the truck, and guess what happens? Oh, we got another one 2 blocks away. I had one night in District 3 when I was at Station 30. We had 4 in one night within blocks of each other all night. Arsonists running around. Lieutenant Murray probably remembers that. Last one, I ended up running 2 blocks because my engine was finishing throwing hose on the tailboard. I ran over and gave a size up when I was completely smoked. But it doesn't stop. We have to be ready. We have to be available. We have to push ourselves. Don't be afraid to push your guys in training. Not to the point where they're falling out. Obviously, we don't want to hurt anybody. Again, training should never result in death or serious injury. Sprained ankles are going to happen, yes. Hurt feelings are going to happen, yes. But we need to push each other. Train hard. It's just going to make us better on the real life situations when we run across those. If we plan for the worst and hope for the best, then the difficult becomes easy and the impossible only becomes difficult if we train hard. So don't be afraid to push your people. I know a lot of guys out there do that. They'll do a gear workout for 15, 20 minutes, get their heart rate up, get them sweating, get them a little winded, and then, okay, now let's go in and let's search the structure and let's pull these mannequins out. Nothing wrong with that. Get them fatigued. And then let's go in and train. Let's see how they function under pressure. It's easy to go in when you're fresh. Again, good leadership is contagious. I believe that. I've been lucky in my career. I've been around a lot of good leaders. I've worked with Captain Chappell, Chief Rogers, Lieutenant Moody, Lieutenant Murray, Captain Lieberman. I can name a lot of people in this room. Driver Engineer Doyle. Anybody. I've had a lot of good leaders that I could talk to, converse with, bounce ideas off of. That's setting the ego aside and talking and coming up with solutions to problems. That's our job. That's what we have to do. That's what we need to do, and it's what we should be doing. Again, the ego can tend to get in the way. We need to get rid of that. There's nothing egotistical in this job. We're all in this together. And again, true leaders don't create followers. We create other leaders. That's what we want. I don't want to create people that just follow every word that I say. I want free thinkers. I want creativity. I want to talk to my lieutenants, and I want to prepare them to take my job. I'm not job scared. I'm confident in my skills and my tactics and my abilities, but I'm not going to be here forever either. A lot of us aren't. We need to teach and mentor for lack of a better term, not meaning anything derogatory, the junior leaders. Teach them to take our place. You know, they don't have to be robots and mindless robots and do everything that you did. Again, that's the creativity and free thinking. But we need to prepare them. I think we've gotten better, but in the past, our department traditionally has been notoriously bad for this, as far as setting up lieutenants and officers for success. We have gotten better. We've instituted an officer development class, so we're getting better. Again, it's a newer program, so they're ironing out bugs, but it's still better. A lot of guys have been through it and have had nothing but good comments coming out of it. I can tell you when I got promoted to lieutenant and captain, it was basically, here you go. Here's all your stuff. Oh, by the way, you don't have all the computer access you need to do the job, but we'll get it done 2 weeks later. While I'm all backed up on paperwork now because I got to get my computer access. So we have gotten much better. The only caveat to that was the first time I was promoted to captain, I got very, very lucky and blessed. For 2 shifts, my job was to ride around with Chief Ramage. He was retiring, so for 48 hours, I drove him everywhere. If I could have slept in the same bed and just learned through osmosis, I would have. But I asked every question I could think of. At any point, I was waiting for him just to look at me and be like, God, I wish this guy would shut up. But he didn't. He's one of the ones, and again, there's so many of them. Captain Schultz, Captain Kaufman. I mean, I've been really blessed. But to actually have the ability to ride around for 2 shifts straight with Chief Ramage and ask him nothing but questions and pick his brain, there's nothing better than that. So, again, I'm sorry this was kind of long and a little boring. I do appreciate you guys sitting there listening and not messing with me too much. While I'm up here, has anyone got any questions? Anything that we went over? Anything we can discuss? You know, a lot of them are recurring themes, so you hear them beat at every leadership seminar, but there's a reason. They're important. You know? Anyone have anything? No? All right, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for listening. Listen to me ramble.
Drop it?
No, I won't have
You got the thanks, bro. Appreciate
Hope that was all right.
What's that? Are we still going on the Facebook? Okay. So, first of all, I'd like to thank both you guys for coming up here and doing this. This was on their own time. This was just as a favor to all of us to come up here. So let's give these guys another round of applause. So, real quick announcement before we go for the day. Our next Firehouse 33 training, we try and alternate months. We do a hands-on training 1 month and a leadership training the next month. So our next one is going to be a hands-on training December 10th at Operations. We're going to do a tick-assisted searches, and then we're going to do some VES, and then we're going to put it all together for a live burn. So that's all been approved through the training department. We're working it. We're getting all that stuff set up. So please put a note on your calendar to come out on that day. It's going to be some really, really good training, some search and rescue stuff that we haven't done widespread yet as a department. So that's going to be awesome. And then the last thought, guys, for the day, the last thought is from Proverbs 27:17, and it says, "As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another." And I appreciate you guys coming out today and submitting yourselves to being sharpened. And I appreciate the men that came out here today and sharpened us. And let's make sure that we're going out and we're sharpening our teams from here on out. Thanks, guys.